I'd like to call this meeting of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees to order. It is 7:06 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. Fiscal Officer, Mr. Baker, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
I'd ask that everyone join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as a meditation, I'd once again like to remind everybody we are one nation under God. There's a lot going on these days. Hopefully common sense will triumph in these days, and things will calm down, and people will have a little bit more peacefulness in their lives, which most of us do, I think. Those of us that have been through job changes, those that are out looking for employment, those that are struggling, and those that are serving so many other members of the public out in the hospitals and first responders and such, and those that get up and go to work every day and make Colerain Township a thing that can happen because they fund this, and just everybody out there that's playing some different role in life. There's a lot of good folks, and let's not lose sight of that. Thank you, and please be seated. The next item is Fiscal Office, the approval of the July 14th, 2020 minutes. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Board. Would like to ask the Board for a motion to approve the minutes for the July 14th, 2020 minutes.
I'd motion that we approve the July 14th, 2020 minutes.
I second it. I second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Baker, I haven't been able to check my email. Did you get mine? Those two changes?
Turn on your mic back.
That's the only time you'll ever have to say that. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to check my email. Did you get my the two minor changes I had to spellings?
I did, and Mr. Unger had already beat you to it.
Okay.
So those changes had already been made.
Okay. Then that's all I've got.
Was there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote on approving the minutes.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
And the next item, Mr. Mills.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Unger. Good evening, Board. If you don't mind, I'd like to call item B up first. This is a retirement proclamation for Firefighter Paramedic Steve Fortunski. I know that his family is in the rotunda, and so that they don't have to wait through a solid waste contract presentation. Maybe we'll call them up first.
I'm fine with that. Is the rest of the
Yeah, I'm
board
fine,
okay with
yeah.
that?
Very good. They are coming in from the rotunda now.
Good evening, Board. This evening I'd like to recognize retired Captain Steve Fortunski for his 31 plus years of service to the Township and to the Department. Captain Fortunski began his service with the Department in April of 1989. During this same time, this is when we began providing advanced life support service through our paramedics to the Township. Steve was one of the first of 6 paramedics hired during that time, and at this time he's the last one remaining, last man standing, I guess, if you will. Steve, like I said, he was hired as a paramedic, and he was promoted to lieutenant in June of 1997, and eventually to captain in 2004. From day one and over the years, Captain Fortunski has been instrumental in providing valuable leadership and enhancing the quality of emergency medical services through its delivery, as well as through education and instruction in not only our firefighters and EMTs, but within the community as well. On a personal note, characteristically, one of Steve's traits that I admire most is his drive for perfection. You know, Vince Lombardi, if you allow me to quote him, said, "If you chase perfection, you'll achieve excellence." You know, when one talks about having your I's dotted and your T's crossed, Captain Fortunski is that person. He never went to bed until all his assigned work and duties had been completed for the shift. Steve, on behalf of the entire department, the Colerain Township government, and the Colerain Township community, we extend our greatest appreciation to you for your loyalty and service. We wish you good health and very much success during your retirement years. Congratulations on your retirement, Steve. Thank you.
I do have a proclamation, which I will go ahead and read. Proclamation for Captain Steve M. Fortunski for his years of dedicated service to Colerain Township, Ohio. Whereas Captain Steve M. Fortunski was hired on April 25th of 1989 as an employee of the Colerain Township Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services, and whereas Captain Steve M. Fortunski has demonstrated professionalism, allegiance, service, commitment, and excellence through his contributions as a firefighter, emergency medical technician, paramedic, instructor, fire officer, employee, and friend during his tenure with the department, and whereas Captain Steve M. Fortunski retired on June 26, 2020, after more than 31 years of commendable dedication to providing fire protection, emergency medical, and community risk reduction services to the Colerain Township community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Colerain Township Board of Trustees recognizes Captain Steve M. Fortunski as an outstanding employee and that he contributed greatly to our community during his long tenure of public service. Be it further resolved that in recognition of all that Captain Steve M. Fortunski has done for Colerain Township, the Colerain Township Board of Trustees hereby proclaim Tuesday, July 28, 2020, as a special day of recognition for Steve M. Fortunski to acknowledge his contributions to our community and wish him continued success in retirement. Do I have a motion to approve such a thing?
I will motion to approve.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Thank you so much for your service.
So thank you very much for your dedication and your passion for our township. Look at all the children waiting, see this great moment.
And congratulations to you. And I know we have our guests staggered out to meet COVID regulations. Would you like to mention who you have here with you? And do you have any comments or questions for us?
Yes, no, absolutely. So in attendance here this evening, I have my sister, brother-in-law, and my 3 nieces. So they live in Fairfield Township. So I really appreciate them here to support me this evening. And then as far as just some comments for me, it's just really difficult to go through all the slide trays that I've experienced over the last 31 years. But I will say this, I am so eternally grateful to this community, for the trustees, the leadership, the chief, all those that hired me in 1989. And with the grace of God, you know, I saw myself through 31 years. I consider this, by the way, my second home. It will always be my second home. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I've learned a lot in those 31 years, and you will always be my family, okay, no matter what. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I would comment that the young lady in the foyer is nodding her head yes. So was there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Thanks again. Aye.
The motion carries. Congratulations on your service.
Congratulations, sir.
Be safe.
Good luck.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Chief, can I get a picture with you and Steve just together? It is what it is, right?
Maybe,
Thank you, guys. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you, sir.
Are we ready for the next item, Mr. Mills?
Yes, sir. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Weckbach to the podium. He's going to give a presentation on the solid waste contract that the township has.
Mr. Weckbach, I don't know if you just cleared out the room or if the topic did.
Wouldn't be the first time that's happened, right? Share my screen here. Sorry about this, guys. All right. So tonight I wanted to update you all on our solid waste contract, kind of give you a point in time as to where we are, and hopefully start the conversation around next steps. There are a lot of next steps involved with this, and so I'll defer to the board as to whether or not we want to talk about it tonight or on a different night. But to get things started, currently we have a contract with Rumpke, Springfield Township and Ross Township, where we all provide sole trash and recycling collection for our residents through Rumpke. It's an exclusive provider relationship. Back in 2016, we went out to bid as a joint group, received a few different quotes back, and Rumpke was ultimately awarded the contract for having the best and most competitive rate. The contract expires next March, but in order to effectively negotiate either a new contract involving multiple other entities or to negotiate a new contract by ourselves or whatever that might be, it's going to take some lead time to sort of figure out where we want to go with this. So that's why we're here today. So what we wanted to do first was to just dive in on some numbers and figure out, well, is it typical for communities in Hamilton County to have a contract with one provider for all of their residents? So there's, a list of communities that don't have a contract with a provider. Ironically enough, all of them are townships.
Change your view here.
Oh, that's fine. I wasn't sure if it was going to come through. All right, so we'll skip ahead here. Yep, no worries. So, 75%, 73%, I think is the number there, of communities in Hamilton County actually directly contract with one entity for their garbage and recycling. This information was all taken from the Hamilton County Solid Waste and Recycling District. And, in addition to that, they provide us some information around rates, which is what I found very interesting. So the communities that do have a contract with one provider pay about $14.18 on average. The communities that do not pay about $22.31 a month for not having a contract. I think that that's kind of a big number for Colerain, just given where we are compared to some of the other communities. It amounts to a difference of about $4 to $5 per month for our residents as a savings by having a contract with one trash collector. You multiply that out over the 5 years, you're talking, $240 to $360 for our residents. We also wanted to just look and see, okay, what other factors might influence this? Does square mileage matter? Does the method that it gets paid matter? And the numbers were inconclusive, as you can see by these charts. So won't spend a lot of time on that, but we did look at that as well. So where we are today is just sort of starting a conversation around what we would like to do next. I've listed out 4 options. There are certainly others, but each comes with its own set of pros and cons. Part of the onus of going this route back in 2016, which was before my time, is that there were a number of residents that simply did not have any trash or recycling service. And because of that, they were either burning their trash or letting it accumulate on their property or other types of things. And so by moving this route, it forced everybody into having a contract, or not a contract, but it forced everyone to having a trash provider, helped to ensure that residents were able to have their trash, and it provided a better rate. So the first option, there is certainly a clause in the existing contract that allows us to extend with Rumpke that would require both Springfield and Ross to agree to that extension as well if we wanted to go that route. There is an option for us to go out by ourselves, go out to bid, and see what we get back. One of the pros to that is we have an opportunity to maybe tailor some specific Colerain needs. So if we're looking at adding trash cans in different parts of the township or other things, that might give us an opportunity to incorporate that into a contract so that we don't have to worry about, well, who's going to pick this up and who's going to do this. After that, we can certainly expand our pool of communities. We don't have to limit it just to Ross and Springfield Township. We could ask if anybody else is interested. And if so, then we can go out to bid with them and figure out what makes the most sense. The con there is, as you have more partners, There's a lot more, you have to work together a lot tighter, and you have to maybe give and take a little bit on what's best for your community. And then the last option is we could go back to the model pre-2016, which was no contract for service. And you know, that gives the end user the absolute freedom of choosing who they want to provide trash service. Now, if the board did have a desire to, you know, go out to bid or to extend the existing relationship, there are different ways that we can pay for this. Different communities do different things. Some directly bill their residents. That's the relationship that we have now. Others do a special assessment on each property owner, and then others have their general fund pay for it. In the memo that was provided to you all, the general fund would not necessarily be able to support paying for all of it, so I will put that out there right now, but that's always an option that is on the table. And as we saw in an earlier slide, the method of billing does not necessarily correlate into savings for the end user. So something else to keep in mind there. So talked about this a little bit, and so, you know, basically I will turn it over to the chair to see what kind of direction you all wish to provide tonight, or if you would like for this to just be an ongoing topic at future meetings, or if we wanted to solicit feedback in a different manner.
Jeff, I want to really commend you for this. This is a great presentation you made, and you clearly give the board a multiple choice. You know, it's and also that's good. You did the pros and cons and articulate your presentation very well. Appreciate that. And one question: have we contact Green Township if they can join? You know.
Certainly, as the next step to this, if
Yeah,
the trustees did have a desire for us to do anything like that, we could, just to see where they're at. You know, maybe they want to, maybe they don't, and
Yeah.
that'll tell us next steps.
I used to live in Green Township for many, many years.
Yeah.
Then there are multiple services. It's chaotic. It's very chaotic. And it's like a every day different trucks comes, noisy in the morning, and you got one set of trash laid out. The next day, another trash. People don't pick up the trash can back. It's very chaotic situation. So it'd be worth to, if we could reach out to Green Township. Then you mentioned ultimately we might, if they join us, maybe it's advantage for our township, reducing pricing could be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't say, you know, with my crystal ball right now if it would or wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's certainly worth a conversation if that's something that the board would like for us to explore.
Good. Great presentation.
Yep, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that my ear just kind of grabbed on was in the contract adding trash can pickups, which I didn't. I guess I should have known as an option. It's kind of obvious, but I didn't think of. You're talking about like street can type things, or?
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we've run across when different parts of the community ask to have, you know, street cans, like you're saying, is who will pick it up. And, you know, right now we don't have necessarily the staff in our public services department. So if there was a way that we could work that into, you know, a bid document, then that is something that we could explore.
Okay, what other, just, I'm spitballing here and putting you on the spot, sorry.
Yeah.
What other kind of things that would, outside of those services of, you know, going from house to house, could be things that we could look at? Because, look, trash has become, I think we all know, a pretty heated topic here in the township, whether it's commercial property, whether it's our property or on the road or residential property. Tires, whatever it is. I've gotten more calls about trash in the last 3 weeks than I've gotten about anything and it's, maybe that's the summer and I just wasn't here last summer for it, or maybe it's, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly think about trying to, whether it's through this or even a different vehicle, trying to solicit and come up with some set pricing for some of those nuisance abatements and things like that, so that we've always got that in our wheelhouse if and when we reach the end of a, you know, a code enforcement process.
Okay, thank you.
I think I saw in your presentation, this current contract runs through March 31st?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, one more question. You said this contract is also included commercial?
It does not include commercial right now.
So what's the current practice now for the commercial?
So I believe that commercial providers seek out their own direct contractual relationship with a trash provider, and that's how their trash gets picked up on a week in, week out basis.
Do Township have a control over the business?
And that's
Like-
actually how they do it in the city of Cincinnati too. So even in the city of Cincinnati has municipal workers that pick up trash. But then if you're a business or a multifamily apartment building, you have to contract with whatever waste hauler you want.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
Board?
The next item on the agenda is citizens' address. We have received 4 different,
Well, I've got a couple or two.
do you have,
I have 4.
okay. I will go ahead and read the 4 that we have received. One of them I read during the previous meeting. It was from Kathy Moore concerning the $500 expense for Plattenberg that was incurred in December of 2019. Is now just asking in July, why are we just now asking in July for this expenditure? It should have been approved prior to the incurred expense. This is becoming too common that terms of contracts are not followed. Thank you, Kathy Moore. In the previous meeting, we did discuss that. The next one is, I believe, from Dan Neese, and it has to do with weed control on Colerain Avenue. Whose responsibility is to maintain weed control on Colerain Avenue? As you drive down the corridor, there are weeds everywhere, mostly growing out of the sidewalks and out of the roadway dividers. And it is worst under the Ronald Reagan overpass. Between the litter and the weeds, the main road in our township is a mess. If we can't keep our main thoroughfare looking nice, why would businesses want to keep their frontages presentable? And I would comment that yesterday afternoon, on Monday, July 27th, I did see an ODOT truck spraying defoliant along the barrier between Springdale Road and I-275. So Colerain Avenue, US 27 is a state road. That is a ODOT road if you want to know whose responsibility it is to maintain weed control. And I can say they were out there on Monday, July 27th, applying defoliant. The next item is from Bruce Pirano. Trustees, concerning presentations, solid waste contract presentation, I strongly believe that extending the existing contract with Rumpke along with continued direct billing to customers is the correct approach if Springfield and Ross Townships also agree. The contract has worked well for most residents at reduced prices compared to past individual residents' collection cost. Before this contract that mandates most residents must participate, we would have bags of trash, car parts, tires, etc. dumped on our property in Colerain Township. This illegal dumping stopped once this contract went into effect. Concerning the resolution ballot language, Fire Department, 301 Mills. As I have stated previously, I am against this November ballot tax increase vote. With this tax request, along with Hamilton County Great Parks wanting a large recreational property tax increase and the upcoming sales tax increase from 7% to 7.8%, I plan to vote no on all new tax requests. All local, county, state, and federal entities must start to live within their current resources. We citizens cannot keep paying for everyone's wants. If you would like to discuss, please contact me, signed Bruce Perino. The next item is from Mike Kinman, and it's addressed to Jeff Mills concerning an overgrown yard. I wanted to take a moment and explain a small problem in our community. This is my neighbor's yard, and there's a picture that's included with it. This is my neighbor's yard. It's obviously overgrown and it's become a nuisance. I've complained in the past to no avail, but now it's unbearable. There is very little area for any of this person's neighbor. There is very little area for any of this person's neighbor to enjoy their view. My dogs are killing rats from their yard. They leave newspapers to collect, and they've recently been burglarized. The police won't do a wellness check because of COVID, and I never see anyone leave the home. Please help us get this under control. I don't even want to fix my broken section of fence because I don't know what is growing or hiding over there. And it says thanks. And hopefully our zoning director, Mr. Iona, will follow up on this. Sure. And those were the citizen comments that we received. I didn't know if either of you two received anything else, because we did have one that was just sent to two of you. Was there any other citizen comments anybody received?
I don't know if it'd be comment. We received one this morning that Mr. Iona's already actually addressed, so.
Okay, which one was that?
That was the fence and the tree.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
was just an email.
A complaint, I guess it was, yeah.
Okay, and with the conclusion of citizens' address, we'll move on to the next item, which is administrative reports. Mr. Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Unger. We'll begin this evening with Mr. Denny, Chief of Police. Chief, can you pop on here? There he comes.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have a report this evening, Jeff.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Chief, I did have a couple questions about your non-report.
Don't go away so quick.
Almost got away with that.
Hey, I know we talked today about this, but I just wanted to thank you. I was teaching in Northern Kentucky when this happened, the Brittany Johnson, Brittany? That's right, isn't it? The Johnson murder, not murder, I guess, but, I'm sorry? Page, yeah, that's right. Paige Johnson, I know that an arrest was made today of someone, you know, in Colerain, here in Colerain Township, and you guys cooperated. I mean, that case, if you followed that case, it's gone on for 10 years. It's absolutely just heart-wrenching, and it was nice to see that hopefully the family gets a little bit of closure in it. And thank you so much for being involved with that. It's yeah, I was very proud of it, of our participation in that.
Well, thank you. It's good to see how the multiple agencies cooperate very well together.
And the other thing I still am getting some calls about nuisance motorbikes and stuff. The best, and I make sure I'm giving people the best advice, is, you know, they need to call 321 cops as they see it. Is kind of the, you know, we can't really take someone's word, or we can't take something on tape. Your officers need to be over there, right, to witness it.
Yeah. In the state of Ohio, with misdemeanors, the officers have to witness the offense. So it isn't a matter of us not believing the resident, but we have to actually witness the offense. So videotaping can help us, and that's kind of a gray area, whether or not that'll suffice in court, but that certainly gives us a much better opportunity to at least identify and then follow up and talk to the family and maybe get the problem taken care of. But yes, please call 321 cops. You're not bothering us. We may not want to have face-to-face contact because we are asking our officers to curtail that a little bit with COVID, but they can still come and respond and investigate without having to have a personal conversation face-to-face, and they can call the resident back.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Chief, following up on Matt's, the concerns of the people, and I really want to thank, 2 weeks ago, I got the same complaint. They called me around about 11:30. I called 321 cops, and quickly Officer Chris responded. They sent the police officers up there. The place was very quiet. I didn't hear anything from last week. Last weekend. Seems to be pretty quiet up there. Also, I want to thank you for we talked about the more patrol on the west side. I did see several police officers in the west side, East Miami River Road. Thank you for deploying our officers on that part of town. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for reaching out.
And Mark, we've had, I think I've had 3 conversations with you in the last 5 days about the motorbikes and four-wheelers on Marino, about the seeming whatever's going on back there on Tottenham, and I know you've gone back there to check on that. It seems like it's some kind of all-night whatever's going on back there in the cul-de-sac. And then I contacted you the other day. People do break down on the highway, and there was it's an older car. It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass that was left on eastbound 275 between Blue Rock and Colerain, and I guess whoever broke down must have thought they were leaving it there because they took the plates on it. How often do we patrol our stretch of 275? It's very dangerous to have cars left abandoned on the side of the road. And I know you got out there and got that picked up in an hour or two, but what is the policy for a motorist that breaks down on the highway, and how long will we let a car sit before we get the hook on it?
Yeah, we actually do not allow them to stay on the interstate. If they are off the side of the road, we still are going to impound them because it is a traffic hazard. You have very little room for a mistake in that lane, and if you veer off or you're not paying attention for a second, it's going to be a pretty substantial crash at 60, 70 miles an hour. So our policy is if the cars are on the side of the road, they are going to be impounded. The officers obviously check that in between calls, but we really do rely on residents and motorists to call us if they do see those things. So kind of with the motorbike included, please call us, not monitoring. This is how we find our information. This is how we can respond and help the residents. So you're never bothering us by calling us. 321 cops, it's staffed 24 hours a day. That's the best bet to get a hold of.
And it was pretty foggy before sunrise the other morning, and that Cutlass was out there, and that is a very dangerous thing to have a stationary object sitting just a couple feet from a vehicle that might be going, obviously within the speed limit, going 65 or less. But please, if you break down, call 321 cops, let us know you're there, let us know that you've got help on the way or a tow truck, but if you get away from your car, there's a pretty good chance it's going to get hooked. It's very dangerous to leave cars on the side of the highway. So thank you, Chief.
We're not looking to make their day any worse by towing in the car, but it's certainly a problem.
Yeah, and that Oldsmobile had no plates on it or anything. I think it died and somebody wanted to bury it there. So thanks for getting it off there.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills?
Okay, thank you, Chief. Next, we have a report from Chief of Department of Fire and EMS, Mr. Frank Cook.
Good evening, Chief.
Chief, how are you?
Good evening again. This evening, I'd like to publicly announce that our Captain Grant Burns has been chosen as the 2020 Ohio Fire Officer of the Year. This award is given annually by the Ohio Department of Commerce, Division of State Fire Marshal's Office, and the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Division of Emergency Medical Services, to a Ohio fire officer who has demonstrated outstanding leadership and qualities and characteristics. Because of their attributes, he has been made a major impact on the fire service at not only the local, the regional, but the national level. Captain Burns has been with the department for over 35 years. He's still out there on the line every third day making a difference, not only to this township, to the younger firefighters in the department, but also making the department as a whole and other departments as well, improving their efficiency, their effectiveness, and their safety in how we do our jobs. So I'd like to publicly congratulate Captain Grant Burns for achieving this award. Typically, the award is presented at a ceremony in Columbus at the Ohio Fire Marshal's Office during the Hall of Flame presentation. But because of COVID, they're not conducting that ceremony like they normally would. So what they've elected to do is that they will visit our township at a later date and make the presentation to Captain Burns amongst all of us. So as soon as that information is made available, I'll provide it. So,
That's great.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good. More to be proud of in our fire department. Next, we have Ms. Jackie O'Connell, Director of Public Services.
Good evening, gentlemen.
And
Good evening.
Jackie, I think you flipped. There we go.
Hey, I just have one thing tonight, and that's to remind anybody who still is looking to get a veterans banner up for a friend, neighbor, or loved one, that we still have about a dozen banners left that are still available. So if you know somebody who has served or is currently serving that has lived in Colerain, graduated from Northwest or Colerain high schools, or has worked in Colerain, owns a Colerain business, please get on the website and get them signed up.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. I understand that Mr. Iona does not have a report today, and I will just sort of end our administrative reports by sharing that our focus in recent weeks has been on the financial health of the organization, given the financial crisis that everybody is feeling and as a result of COVID. We'll talk more about that when we discuss the supplemental appropriations item later on. Also wanted to let you know that we have entered quarter 3 of 2020, and we are right now digging into our quarter 3, quarter 4 initiatives. We're looking forward to the preparation of the 2021 strategic plan and budget, planning for which begins in the next couple of weeks. So onward to 2021. That concludes my report.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, sir.
It is for Mr. McElravy, but I noticed that, he had a swamp of things to do when he first got here, but we've gotten up to, I guess, end of May, general ledger reports and financial reports up, and I was going through those today, looking at the different account things, and happy to see that, for a while we were a little bit behind on that. And we still have, I guess, a month, but that's, I think generally that's kind of common for government because you have to wait for those things to catch up. So last week after, and I don't know if this is for Ms. O'Connell or for you, last week after the discussion about the I-275 exit ramps and stuff, I got a number of calls about folks wanting kind of a middle road between the $400,000 kind of thing and what we currently have. So I drove past there 4 or 5 times, and I get Mr. Unger's point is that that's not our responsibility, but that is just that's a jungle. And I look at kind of how I went down to Forest Park in Green Township. Do they take over that responsibility from the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you look at the I-74 exit to North Bend in Green Township, Green Township has invested a great deal of money in that interchange.
Very nice.
And so the process that they went through is similar to what we have gone through up to this point, which is hire somebody to design something, work with ODOT to get permits, and then bid that work out to get accomplished.
But at this point, just based upon the condition I see, and I mean Green's put a lot of money. I don't know that Forest Park, I don't know where they're getting it because they've got like illuminating signs and stuff. I don't know if they bought that or the.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we were to just take that over and just cut it, I think it would make a significant difference.
Well, who's cutting I-74 in North Bend? Because I noticed Colerain and 275 today is not cut, but
Right.
we don't send the township mowing crew out there unless you would want to do that, and I don't think we're safety equipped to be out on a interstate highway.
I could find out who. No, I'm certain that it's not their public works, but I could find out who Green Township contracts with for maintenance.
Yeah. Actually, in the Green Township, for many, many years, they still do. They were a great organization. It's called Montfort Heights White Oak Civic Association, and these are like a retired senior citizens. They were cutting the grass, and they were planting trees in Green Townships, helping them. When I was working in the probation, I used to send the probationers to help them to cut the grass and clean up all the litter and stuff like that. That's why the last meeting I mentioned that we have, and the I-275 over there, and the Community Action Association, every Saturday they volunteer to plant the flowers and clean up everything. They were hardworking people. Then I mentioned to you last meeting, then what are the funding we're going to have, grants, we should collaborate with this group. That's what Green Township did and become very successful. That's very important. We need to collaborate with the people already doing a great job. It's great encouragement for them. That'd be a good point. I talked to George Isafort, and Mr. Mills knows him, and he's the president of the club. They're looking forward. I think this collaboration like that with the civic group make a significant difference in make things happen.
I had a group reach out to me that's interested too, and my first reaction is, I can't have you out there yet because it's just, there's vines growing up there, and I wondered if we just took that part over and then had them out. It's hard I think, to justify going from what I see now to here's 400,000 or here's 150,000. But if we make this kind of incremental jump and start getting community involvement, people want to be involved with that. So I don't know if there's a third way a way forward, like with the group that you mentioned and the group that contacted me, but there's plenty of people that are interested in giving sweat equity.
That's the main thing that made the Green Township, that exit, made it successful, very beautiful, because their involvement, and we should follow that model, and we'll see the difference.
Yeah, so the things that were involved in the design that probably couldn't be done with volunteer stuff is a lot of the electric work. There were a lot of the lights, and but I can reach out to ODOT and find out what the requirements are for volunteer labor to go in and cut, and also to plant, if that's something you'd like.
Yes, I think it would look 100% better if it were just cut at this point. I mean, some of the stuff is really high.
Right, and that it is high, and that is a maintenance issue that ODOT needs to address.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, so is that the end of your administrative report?
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. The next item is trustees report. Raj, would you like to go first?
You want me to?
Or
Okay.
Matt, whichever.
All right, I'll go. Very brief. I was talking to Jeff yesterday. I think a lot of things happening in our Colerain Township, and happening with a lot of grant money, state money, and it's like especially Colerain Avenue sidewalks funding, and Jeff Mills talked about that. Our Cloud and ODOT approached him, and Tommy Arnold, he loves Colerain Township, and that'd be a great thing. And to follow up on that, I'm meeting with the Congressman Steve Shaber's group of people, so we can get funding from the transportation. They're supposed to pass a great bill, help the transportation bill. And essentially, US 27 Colerain Avenue actually belonged to the federal government. They gave it to the state to maintain and monitor this. So I'm trying to approach them, the federal people, so how they can help Colerain Avenue to make it a better place, better road. So I'm meeting with the people tomorrow morning, then eventually meeting with the Congressman Steve Shabbat, try to get some grant for the Colerain Avenue. Okay, that's my short report.
Thank you, Raj. Matt, did you have any comments?
Yeah, very, very briefly. I should have asked this during Mr. Mills' report, but just to follow up on the electric car charging grant situation. Do we have a team for that?
Yep. So that's being led by Mr. Weckbach, and he has dug deep into the requirements, and right now has identified 2 potential locations that seem to meet the requirements, and one in particular that would be probably pretty competitive. So he's working on that right now.
Okay, awesome. Just a reminder to folks that Friday at 7 p.m. At the Houston Early Learning Center. I got it right finally. It's always Houston Elementary to me, but Houston Early Learning Center at 7 p.m. will be the plaque for Ivy Barrage, who died in the Vietnam War. And that date on the 31st, Friday, actually is his birthday. His family's flying in from as far as Las Vegas. I understand his son is coming in from Las Vegas for this. And as long as he doesn't have a vote, Congressman Shabbat will be there. I know that State Senator Blessing, State House Member Abrams, Judge Cooper, who runs the Veterans Court, will be there too. And Mr. Mills will say a few words, and I'll say a few words, and all organized by Chris Green to get and his Veterans Association to get that recognition. And if the family is tremendous. They're a fantastic family. She's lived on Blue Lark since like 1968 or something. It's an incredible story, and it was on the news. And the thing that really hit me is that she bought her house with like an agreement. She just paid the person's mortgage down for 30 years, and then they handed over the deed. I don't think things go like that anymore, but it's a fantastic story. Also, I've talked, and I talked to Mr. Mills about this back and forth, and Mr. Iona and a number of citizens about the garbage. that seems to be making its ugly appearance, and we're trying a number of things to get under control. And I just want to reiterate, so the signs on the telephone poles, I don't know why that's a trigger for me. If I see them, can I take them down?
Not as a trustee, but whatever you do on your own is what you're doing.
I mean, I don't know, because it's the same number that's buying houses, and they just must go up and down Colerain.
You're a pretty good talker. Give them a call and
Yeah, that'll be penalty enough for them, huh?
don't quit putting signs up after you call them.
The history of snipe signs.
Yeah,
I've actually called them before too.
yeah, it's driving me. I don't know. I think there's a lot of great things happening in Colerain. It's just a lot of momentum happening, and I just want to recognize too. I noted it last meeting when we swore in new fire members. Man, no wonder why they win so many awards. They're just the people that you guys recruit for fire are incredible. You remind me at graduation of the kid that gets up for every award, which is really good. I mean, I'm so proud of the job that you guys do, and just to see again tonight with retirement that the folks, I mean, every single person that we hired last week, they're like, well, I'm getting my master's and I have a college degree and I did this and I did that, and I'm like, that's fantastic. And you could tell the commitment. You guys do a fantastic job, and also for Public Works doing a fantastic job too. I know that we're a big area, and I appreciate that. That is it for my report.
I'd just like to make a few short comments. Recreationally, with so many businesses and limited on what they can do, my wife and I have been out walking our parks, and down Heritage Park, over at Colerain Park, other places. Sunday, we went down to Spring Grove Cemetery and did a lap down there. It was 93 degrees, and bring 4 bottles of water, not 2. But other than that, the people of Colerain Township, you've been incredibly patient with these edicts that come down from the state government, and hang in there. This will be over someday. I think I can't see it being over much before November, because it's grown to be so much more than a medical thing. It's become a political football. It's been devastating to business. But just hang in there, and I think we've got a few more months of all the wrangling around with the COVID and all the reporting in the media and that. And the people of Colerain Township have been incredibly well behaved and respectful, and we've been able to keep our businesses open as much as we can. Our business owners have kept them open. It certainly hasn't been the trustees, but just hang in there, everybody. And with that, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Mills.
Yes, sir. The first items of new business this evening come from the Public Safety Departments. And we'll start with the Police Department and Chief Denny.
Good evening. I got one item. It's recommend adoption of a motion to authorize Township Administrator Jeff Mills to execute an agreement with the Northwest Local School District to renew our contract for SROs and school safety officers.
I'll motion to adopt I'll motion to adopt the agreement as provided with Northwest Local School District.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? I think it's a good idea to have an officer embedded in the schools and working with that demographic, and I think there's more benefits than we realize. So, is there any other discussion?
Yes, Chief, our officers did a great job in the past in the schools. They really minimized any type of violence there, and even there was a couple incidents erupted. Our officers handled it very good and responded efficiently. That's a great program that we have to help our school districts.
I was looking today, I believe it's our 18th year that we've been in the schools. So this is a great relationship, and we've seen a lot of kids that are now adults that started through as young people that we made a great relationship with because of this program.
Is there any? Go ahead, Raj.
Sorry. And the officers you are appointed there seems to be very experienced officers. They handle the situation very well.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, the next item of new business comes from the Fire Department and will be presented by Chief Cook and Assistant Chief Mueller.
Board, we have one item for you to consider tonight, and that being a motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with the Hamilton County Public Health Department for quick response team operation. It is through our recommendation and proposed agreement that the Hamilton County Public Health Department provide a full-time community health coordinator to Colerain Township to work with our public safety agencies in addressing the social factors that impact health and quality of life. At this time, I'd like for Assistant Chief Mueller to step up to the podium and provide a little bit more background information and also provide an opportunity for you to answer any questions or concerns that you may have with our recommendation.
Thank you, Chief Cook. Good evening, Board.
Evening.
Really.
So as you know, Colerain Township has an extensive history of developing strategic partnerships that has helped sharpen an innovative edge within each one of our township departments. 2015, our township made the national spotlight with the formation of the country's first quick response team. Since then, the township has ventured into many groundbreaking realms within its public safety roles. However, we can't continue to rely on yesterday's victories and innovation to carry us through today or tomorrow. In our pursuit of continued excellence, we must strive for the next level of success and service provision. Part of that innovation means that we must do this in a way that increases the quality of life for the residents and visitors of Colerain Township without increasing the cost of that service. So herein lies the power of strategic partnerships. Currently, our township public safety entities, law enforcement, fire and EMS, come into contact with individuals whose overall health is negatively impacted by several factors. We refer to many of these factors as social determinants of health. There are many of these factors, too many to list, in fact. However, the more common health concerns that we observe on a daily basis are those that surround age, lifestyle, poor environmental conditions, physical and mental health, substance use, and physical and emotional abuse. Our police and fire department personnel do an amazing job referring individuals to the proper authority for assistance in handling their health risk factors. However, our time with these individuals is short, and the task can be daunting. There's little time to assure that these individuals are followed up with properly and in a way that creates resolve. Many others may slip through social cracks that exist within the current stream of physical and mental health services. Imagine in our township a linkage of care service that can be provided by an individual who has experience with substance use disorder, social services, and the operations of local government entities. Such an individual could be a powerful tool in assisting our public safety entities with proper health referrals and follow-up to the necessary and much-needed wraparound social services. Better yet, imagine this service being provided to the township at no cost. I'll pause there for a second.
I noticed that wasn't in the contract, and I had asked Jeff Mills about that, and I know we do pay the health district, I want to say $78,000 a year to be a member of it, so this would be included in what we're already doing.
Actually, I can explain that.
Okay, go on.
Very simply, yes. So the proposed 2-year statement of agreement between our township and Hamilton County Public Health does exactly that at no cost. Through this proposed agreement, Hamilton County Public Health will provide one full-time FLSA exempt community health coordinator to Colerain Township to work with our public safety entities addressing social determinants of health that impact quality of life. While Hamilton County Public Health would be responsible for all wages and benefits associated with this position, this individual would be housed here in the Township Administration's building and be solely dedicated to Colerain Township. This position is made available due to grant funding Hamilton County Public Health has received through the Centers for Disease Control. Part of the job description includes, 1, serve as an expert and advisor for substance use disorder and addiction for Colerain Township Administration and Public Services, work with public service departments, law enforcement, fire and EMS, etc., and other local groups to provide care coordination and link individuals to organizations that provide needed services. Provide education and support on social determinants of health to community groups, organizations, and businesses. Establish relationships with businesses and Chamber of Commerce, Colerain Chamber, to provide education, individual assistance, and assistance with second chance programs. Maintain partnerships with Northwest Local School District to provide prevention, intervention, and education for first-time drug and alcohol offenses. Support pre-arrest diversion through Hamilton County Juvenile Court and Colerain Township. Assist with QRT program and conduct follow-up visits for recent reported overdoses. Now, at this time, this partnership is only being offered to Colerain Township because of our history of being community leaders who are not afraid to step outside of our traditional roles to be real problem solvers. So, with that, it is once again time to look to tomorrow towards breaking boundaries, tearing down professional silos. This agreement and partnership is a great opportunity to develop new interdisciplinary approaches to our community's social health concerns, and to yet again allow Colerain Township to be the tip of the spear in community leadership, compassion, and social responsibility. So with if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. As far as the funding piece, which was just brought up a little bit ago, Trustee Unger, as mentioned in the proposal, this would be funded through a grant received by the CDC.
And I'll motion that we do such a thing to get it to the floor for more discussion.
I'll second.
Been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Couple questions. How is that a year grant or is that a multi-year grant?
It is a two-year funding program, yes.
Okay. I don't expect you to know the answer to this, just kind of throwing it out there, but that's a heavy caseload for one person, all the things that you mentioned. I imagine, and this has kind of been my theory all along, and I think it played out when Erlanger did it, that the number of calls for assistance are going to be reduced as a result of this position.
Yeah, so that's always difficult to tell. So prevention is always hard to measure because
Right.
you never know what you stopped from happening to begin with. When you look at workload, yes, so the caseload, this will be a busy individual. However, this individual is not working alone to provide the necessary services. They're a linkage to care. So if you envision this graphic, if you're a visual individual like I am, you envision this graphic with the community in the center of this circle, and then an outer circle with this community health coordinator position, and all these different spokes of linkage to care. So the different social, wraparound social services that are needed to help. And we're talking fall prevention, we're talking about COA referrals, we were talking about substance, the quick response team as well. So we're really branching out into multiple social determinants of health to address all types of quality of life. So this person is not doing all these things on their own. They're working with police and fire and the programs that are already in place within those two public safety entities to help individuals get connected to the proper resources.
So, yeah, that's the question I have, and you just indicated, and I think it is hard to kind of draw that, but at the end of 2 years, I'd like to have some measure for you to come back and say, hey, look at what I think we said. I know this sounds kind of crass looking at dollars and cents, but that's kind of, it's the whole responsibility of the trustees up here is to make sure all the dollars are well spent. And I think they're going to be, I think if we need to renew after 2 years, it will be well spent. Do you have a mechanism in place, or do you have an idea how you're going to measure that?
Sure. There's several outcomes that we've discussed. Because this has happened so fast, so rapidly, we want to get moving on this. We just haven't we haven't gotten to that point in the development. We're also looking at sustainability as well.
Okay.
So what the approval of this contract will do will allow us the month of August to look to the outcomes that we're looking for and a way to measure them. So we already have mechanisms in place to track data. It's just a matter of what and what it's going to look like.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that. I think this is going to be, I think this could be ultimately a game changer in many ways for call volume and just for the health and well-being of people.
Absolutely.
So it's a 2-year funding?
That's correct.
I noticed on the screen that I have in front of me, it says it's from August 1st of 2020 to August 31st of 2021, which is 13 months. So what would happen with the other 11 months? Would you come back to us in a year to renew that, or?
That's correct. So there is funding for 2 years. The Hamilton County Public Health decided to do 1 year MOU at a time. Now, what happens the approval of this contract allows for 2 things to happen. It allows for us to transition from Addiction Services Council, who we currently use or had currently used for our quick response team effort, and transfer that over to Hamilton County. So we have an individual with Hamilton County who will run our quick response team for the month of August, allowing us and bridging a gap until we can get the full-time person hired by September 1st. So
Okay.
September 1st starts the full-time 40-hour-a-week position, while August will allow Hannah Dawes from Hamilton County Public Health to continue running with our quick response team.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any comments, Raj?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Captain Miller, many times I told you guys how you guys QR team is the best, because when I worked in the probation department, I go to several conferences across the country, and professionals come from all over the country, sometimes all over the world. First thing I hear, Colerain Township, QRT, you're a pioneer in the Builder program. It makes me so proud, and it made me so proud. You know, the last meeting I was there in Northern Kentucky, substance abuse program conference, and they pointed out Colerain Township, #1, innovative in QRT program. It's too bad that coronavirus, COVID-19 happened. A lot of funding is being diverted from the substance abuse program, but you guys still maintain that QRT program in our township. Thus, you became a pioneer in the country. So I'm really applaud you guys for your outstanding work, fire department and police department doing this service. Also, which we would like to see move forward, more importance because of the COVID-19. You see a lot of mental illness and spreading pretty much, and we got the program. Hopefully, we can seek some federal grant to help you guys more, support this program. And I just want to thank you for outstanding jobs you guys do.
Thank you, sir. It's very much appreciated. And the men and women who operate this team on a weekly basis really deserve much of that credit, because without them, we could come up with all the crazy ideas that we want, but they wouldn't be able to be executed if not for those fine young men and women. So very appreciative of their efforts as well. One note about funding, I want to make sure that everybody understands that at least from the quick response team portion of this, because we're really expanding the scope of service we provide from addressing social determinants of health and certain health risk factors, which goes beyond substance use and beyond quick response team efforts. So the full-time position through Hamilton County Public Health is being paid for through the grant. Our police and fire personnel who are running the quick response team are still being funded through the Ohio Attorney General's office. So we're very blessed and fortunate to continue that funding stream for our efforts. So I just wanted to make sure that
most of the cases, the mental illness, also related correlation between substance abuse problem. Most of the people, they use substance abuse, and so it's both ways to help these people, and it's your response team is amazing, and hopefully I'll keep looking forward from the Department of Justice, some grant available. I'll keep my eyes open, let you guys know.
Thank you very much.
Was there any other discussion?
None.
Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Cook. Thank you, Chief Mueller. Board, the next three items of new business come from the Department of Public Services, and they'll be presented by Ms. Jackie O'Connell.
Good evening again. The first item I have before you is a motion to issue got it out of order. Sorry. Is a motion to accept the grant funding from the safety grant. So as we said last time, we received a safety grant from odot with no match required for $742,000.86 to build a sidewalk on Pippin Road from Struble Stout to serve the students at Northwest High School. And we are just asking you to formally accept that grant this evening.
I will motion to accept grant funding, safety grant, Pippin Road sidewalks.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, thanks, Dan. Jackie, you did, like I said in the last meeting, you did an amazing job in preparing the applications. And it is at the beginning, when I was talking to Tommy, man, there's so many applicants apply for the grant safety. I don't know, you guys will get it or not, but you did a great job and work hard to. I even told you several times. I followed up on your house application coming. I'm getting nervous. You said, oh, they even added the sidewalk thing. That was good. And I really appreciate your remarkable job on this, getting this grant. And Jeff Mills, thank you to Jeff Mills.
You made me nervous. So.
Jackie, I was never nervous at all. Great job. Great job. I appreciate the hard work on it, and I think you see these reports from the city of Cincinnati every day. I think there was somebody again hit today, and what happened in North College Hill with the family from Maslow's Army had just resettled there, and it just kind of it strikes home. It's like we got to create safe route for these kids. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for your work on that, Jackie. Was there any other discussion?
None.
Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you. The next piece I have is a resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program. So ODOT has a program. It's a little bit different than state bid. If they bid out a project and they get pricing on it, we are able to, if we participate in this program, we are able to use the pricing that they get out with their look bid. So we would like to take advantage of this, and we can use it for anything in ODOT pricing, but right now we have it eyed for our cake sealing project. So we would like to use the state money for that.
For what project? I'm sorry.
Micropaving.
Okay.
Cake sealing to repair some roads.
Gotcha.
I would motion that we do such a thing.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Okay, and the last piece I have is a motion to issue a request for bids for the Colerain Park Playground Project. So as you know, this is the Megaland replacement project at Colerain Park. We've been working on design pieces. This bid is separated into phase 1 and phase 2. Ideally, we would do it in one phase, but since the state capital grant money is still unknown, we have to phase this in so we don't overspend. So it's a design intent bid, whereas the bid interest parties will bid with their design that they want to manufacture that is in line with the elements of the play elements and the aesthetic elements that Human Nature designed for us.
So I'll motion to issue requests for bids for the Colerain Park Playground project.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I think that state money still will be coming as a good news. I spoke last week to the majority leader of state legislature, and he said the money will be coming, hopefully. Also, I think Bill Blessing, Senator Cindy Abraham trying just a little bit hold, but hopefully we're going to get that money.
Was there any other discussion? No. To those at home, if you go to our agenda, you will see a lot of drawings and information on it. I know that's been a popular topic for questions, and it is moving along. The COVID thing certainly didn't help us any, but there All this information is contained in our agenda if you want to take a look at it. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. It feels good to be moving forward on that important project. The next two items will be presented by Mr. Mike Iona, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Good evening, board members. I have two items of business for you this evening. The first is a resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement on the following properties: 9952 Capstan, 9929 Capstan, 7992 Cheviot, 2816 Klondike, 9924 Laura Linda, 6691 Memory, 9870 Pinedale, 3506 Pool, 3561 West Kemper, and finally 2459 Wilson. And staff is recommending approval of this resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement.
I'll move the motion.
And I will second it. It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mike, I did ask you the question about 9929 Capstan because that was on the agenda 2 weeks ago. And correct me if I'm wrong, the answer was it was for grass and this time is for junk?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Was there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
So the second item I have is a resolution for approval of case number ZA 2020-03, address 10511 Pippin Road. And this is a resolution for approval of a rezoning request from R6, that's an urban residential zoning district, to PDR, Plan Development Residential, or parcel 510-0033-0023-00. This is better known as the Lake Gloria development. The proposal has been submitted and reviewed by staff. It's also been reviewed by the Zoning Commission at a public hearing on June 16, 2020. Zoning Commission voted 4-1 to approve the proposal, subject to conditions. Additionally, a public hearing was held before the Board of Trustees on July 14, 2020. Based on all of the above, staff is bringing and recommending approval of a proposed resolution to change the zoning on the site in question, as proposed, subject to the conditions outlined in the resolution attached within the agenda packet.
I'll motion to approve zoning case ZA 2020-03, changing the zoning on the site from R6 urban residential to PDR Plan Development Residential Lake Gloria Development.
I will
Go ahead, Dan.
I will second it. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Ione, I'd just like to say that this, I had a number of people that are friends that watch these meetings just to watch them. And to a person after the last meeting, they said, wow, to your presentation. It was probably the most thorough zoning presentation I've ever seen. You did a fantastic job on it. To the point where I've got friends commenting on it, and I'm like, well, I was there too. And they just didn't even recognize that. So great job on that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And as a follow-up, the lady who spoke at our meeting, I did go over and look at her property, which is across the street, and her issues seem to be with stormwater and the sanitary. And I talked to Mr. Mills about that, and I believe you've got her referred to the Hamilton County Stormwater District and Metropolitan Sewer District, which is not what this is about. This is about just changing the zoning. Those issues, and hopefully you're going to get her hooked up with a developer. Communication being the key to this great success, and so I did follow up on the person who spoke last week. Was there any other discussion?
Yes, I drive by almost every day. I look at it. Oh man, that's the time for the new change. You know, I drove almost like that area over 16 years. Same, never change a bit. You know, then after I made that presentation of all this development is going to happen, that whole area is going to be changing, and also the people live around this area. That property value is going to go up. You know, that's, some other people don't understand that. And that area is very vital, you know, we saw that all the planning, it's going to be a beautiful development there. And that part of, especially the south of Pippin Road, it's a great project. Hopefully it'll come through.
Was there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iona. Okay, the next several items are in the administration department, and I'll handle those. The first one is a resolution that we recommend approval of to proceed with the tax levy in exceeding the 10 mil limitation for fire and emergency medical services for Colerain Township. We already adopted this almost identical resolution July 14th. When we went to file the resolution with the Board of Elections, they requested a change. So we're bringing that small change back to you all. You'll see the change in
The third paragraph.
the third paragraph there. So that's where we are at. Recommend adoption.
And I'll motion that we would adopt that resolution.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? And I would add that there was a question, we discussed this as a 3 mil levy, and that is what we intended to approve, but I think that there was a different calculation there, and I guess they've asked to have it read 3.0
That's
mils.
right. That's correct.
Okay, and then we've had a robust discussion about this over the last 7 months.
Yes, sir.
So, is there any other discussion?
I think we need that, make our fire department stronger, and it'll be very helpful for our community.
Yes, sir.
I don't think my position has changed. I just don't think it's the time for it, and I don't think it's a long-term solution. And I think we're going to have competition, which is on the ballot with the park. I think the park levy is going to leave some bad taste in people's mouths.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
No.
Very good. The next item is a motion to reappoint Trustee Unger as an alternate member of the District 2 Integrating Committee. That appointment was had expired, and this motion is necessary to reappoint Mr. Unger.
I'll move the motion to reappoint Dan Hunger as the alternate member of the District 2 Integrating Committee.
I will second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Do you want to?
Yes, it's a good organization. It helps get us in line for different grants and projects and such a thing.
What do you offer that organization, Mr. Unger?
Well, I will go out, and as you hear at so many meetings, I'm always trying to convince our department heads to go out and find grant money, find other sources of revenue besides local taxation, local property taxes, and that is what I offer. So, is there any other discussion?
Danny will do a good job.
Thank you. And I don't look at it as a conflict to vote for myself for that.
Nope.
Okay.
I think you're going to probably win, but we'll.
I don't know. Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
I've already participated in the discussion, so I will say aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next item, Mr. Mills.
Thank you, Board. This next item was a difficult one to arrive at. The COVID pandemic has affected all of us in lots of different ways. One way that it is affecting the township is by significantly decreasing certain revenue streams. Mr. Weckbach, Mr. McElravy, and myself have met with all the department heads, and we've gone line by line through every single line of revenue that comes into every department and figured out where we were year to date. Tried to project those revenues forward for the last 6 months of the year. and have come to the conclusion that we should probably expect about $2.1 million less in revenue than we anticipated due to COVID. So the next task that was in front of us was to go line by line through expenses for every line in every budget and figure out what cuts we can make that won't impact essential services to the township. What cuts can we make that will be as painless as possible to the residents of Colerain, that we don't eliminate essential services. And we've identified about $2.9 million worth of deferrals and basic appropriations decreases for this year. And so on balance, as a result, we believe that we will end the year with approximately $750,000 more in our all funds fund balance than we anticipated at the time of permanent appropriations. So the action that we're asking you all to take this evening is to adopt a resolution for amended appropriations that reflects that decrease in expenditure, so that we can do the right thing financially and reduce expenditure, because we think we're going to have fewer revenues. Now, that said, there are things that have not been taken into account here on the revenue side, because things are still in flux. And that is CARES Act money from the state, pass-through money from CARES Act from the county, Senate Bill 4 money, which allows for us to look at our TIF districts and use money from the TIF districts. So those three things, the guidance is still being sorted, and what each of those pots can be used for. But once we have a very clear understanding of what we can use that for, my recommendation would be to come back to the board, maybe at a work session. I think in a conversation I had with Mr. Rajagopal, he suggested a work session to discuss, how to deploy those additional revenues that were unanticipated. So I think that's a great idea and would recommend that. But for tonight, the recommendation is to reduce our expenditure and adopt a resolution for amended appropriations in the amount of $38,917,293.60 as listed in the resolution in the packet.
I'll motion to adopt amended appropriations as provided.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions, Mr. Mills.
Yep.
On 2081 Police District, the $327,000 reduction. So the decrease in the contracts with Walmart Northwest and Northgate Mall. Perhaps you can give a little bit more detail on what's happened with those contracts.
Sure. So the school district has received a huge cut in their budget from the state, and that precipitated the desire to reduce the contract that they had with the township for school resource officers. As you know, the last several months of school were not in session, so that accounts for the lost revenue from the school district. And then due to COVID, Chief Denny changed staffing and scheduling with Walmart and the mall to keep our officers healthy and so that they can handle their responsibilities with the township. So extra duty details have been eliminated there. So that's both a decrease in revenue, and it's also a corresponding decrease in expenditure on the other side of the ledger.
In 2021 gasoline tax, what is the salary and fringe associated with budgeted but not filled position?
You'll recall at the beginning of the year, the staff recommended the addition of a maintenance worker in the Parks Department so that we could have another person out in the parks. As you know, we're very shorthanded out there, but the board's direction was now wasn't the time for that, and so that remained budgeted, but was not hired or filled.
2912 Community Center, should be 10,000 reduction and 30,000 increase?
Yes.
And then the last question is with regard to the, I don't see where it's listed here, but I have it on my front here, the Mount Healthy Heights Road.
Yeah.
Which I can't seem to find the account. Is that under gasoline tax 2021?
That was,
yeah. how bad, and I meant to drive over there the last 2 days, specifically looking for that, but how bad are the roads? Is this something that we're going to have to do next year anyway?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not good, and in those neighborhoods, projects like this make a big difference because we can't do a whole lot with the private realm, but we can do a whole lot inside the public realm, which is the right away to right away line. It would really make a huge difference in that neighborhood, and it's not that we're never going to do it. It's just we have to postpone it for a time.
Okay, my concern is in this, we have talked about this one-on-one, the idea that we've deferred maintenance our roads for so long that we're creating, I guess, a bubble or something. I don't know, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, make sure that those folks do get taken care of. I don't know.
And one thing
first priority next time. Or something.
Yeah, and one thing we can talk about as we get into budget season is fund balance policy. So, we have carried a fund balance in a lot of our roads funds, and if it's the will of the board to spend down the fund balances in some of those roads funds in an effort to get a jump on, to do extra maintenance next year, let us know and we'll include that in the budget so that we can do more roads next year than we have in the past.
And there's a possibility if CARES money gets put to, let's say, I don't know, fire police, that we could take general fund money out of fire police and then reappropriate it to.
Right now, there is no general. I want to say that there's no general fund money going to fire police.
Okay.
Yep. So it's 100% levy funded.
Okay.
In the past, we've used economic development revenues from TIF districts that have expired to buy capital to try to extend the levies. So we take on some of the capital expenses from police and fire in an attempt to get those levies out farther, make them last longer. But that money is gone now, and they are 100% on their own.
So I want to make sure that when we get to that point, and again, this is not for discussion tonight, that the CARES money in the SB4, that we max that.
Yes.
And if it means moving stuff around.
Yep.
Okay.
And one of the assumptions that we made here was that we didn't want to touch fund balance. So
Okay.
we could have balanced, we could have drawn down on fund balance to alleviate some of the cuts, but we haven't had that conversation with the board yet about what your pleasure is about fund balances and what level of fund balance you want to maintain. So we just kept fund balances neutral and balanced the budget with expenditure.
I think that's an important conversation to have soon.
Yeah.
Because I think certain funds should have a fund balance, and I think others maybe don't need one.
Right.
It just depends on the nature of the fund, but I think I think having a policy for this board going forward, I think we could come to consensus on that, and that could help you in the budgeting process. So.
That was something that we had the Financial Advisory Committee working on before that was paused due to the lawsuit.
Okay.
But once that went away, I think it's up to the board. We would love that.
You're not going to, if you have an emergency fund expenditure, it's probably going to be something that you're going to be able to get emergency funds for.
Sure.
It's not something that you need to have a fund balance in there for, I would believe. Right. But I'm getting way beyond scope. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Dan. I think the keynote is make Colerain Township solid.
Yeah.
Okay? We're in the right direction. We're not going to some other, like Cincinnati or, city of Cincinnati, some other township out there struggling. But you are doing very conservative. You're communicating with the department heads and bring them on board on what your vision is, so they can be able to make also cuts.
Yeah.
And decreasing $2.38 million, something like that.
2.9, yep.
That's a huge savings. And maintaining the good fund balance is very important to have our township rating in a Moody rating, right? The Moody rating higher. So our township gets a good rating, and also we enough to serve the people. That's very critical. So I think our township heading to the right direction. Even in the COVID-19 crisis, we're still able to maintain a strong financial hold. So that's a good thing happening.
Sure. Thank you.
And Raj, You almost made me laugh when you talked about the way Cincinnati does stuff. The difference in the way Colerain Township is governed versus the city of Cincinnati, that place is a fiscal train wreck, and we are not. And it's because of the leadership here, and we see things head in one direction, and you make adjustments for it. I know you live in Cincinnati. It is a mess. Move to Colerain Township, Jeff. You'll thrive here. You'll do a lot better here. And I would like, one other thing I'd like to point out is this long list of things we've been discussing. Thank you for getting that out Friday, as we always do with our agenda. I was able to read through the whole thing over the weekend and have my questions answered, and just thanks for getting it out in a timely manner. That's one other thing we do, is get our agendas out 3 or 4 days, actually 96 hours ahead of time, so people have a chance to look through them. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I just want to add very quickly, just thanks for the hard work you guys did on this. I know Jeff, and Jeff.
And Jeff, you missed one.
Yeah, and Jeff. Yeah.
Lovely. He's an important man.
The one that doesn't spell his name right. But,
But I know that this is tough, man, and I appreciate that that you didn't wait for us to hammer you down and say, all right, cut. I mean, I think that Dan said it. You saw it coming, and I'm over the moon. And I sent everybody here a text as soon as I got it. I said, man, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the hard work, and sometimes you got to make choices. So thanks.
I appreciate that, and I do want you guys to be comfortable when we do bring expenditure requests to you. I want you to feel comfortable knowing that that's not going to break the bank. That we've thought through all these things, and we're going to be okay, because there are still some things that are needed just to keep operations going. So,
Great.
And as with no other discussion, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
All right.
okay, thank you, board. The final item is related to citizen participation at trustee meetings. I will share with you that it has been such a moving target trying to figure out when the most appropriate time would be to bring people back. I know that I'm dying to have everybody back. I've heard you all speak from the DS, wishing that we could have people in person here, and we're trying to come up with some method of providing certainty or expectations, setting expectations appropriately. And when the governor developed the yellow, orange, red, purple alert system, we thought that it made sense to tie our in-person rules for attendance at meetings to the alert level that the governor sets. So the recommendation was to adopt a motion modifying citizen and public comment, public hearings, and in-person attendance according to the chart that was listed in the agenda packet, where if it's yellow, in-person comments are how citizen comment is done. Public hearings are in-person comment, and residents can attend in person. With orange, and on, it escalates from there. So that was our recommendation, and happy to answer questions.
I'll motion to modify in-person citizen participation due to COVID-19 to the color scale that the governor provided.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I think we should follow the governor's order, the guideline of the health department. I think it's very critical. It's it's not over yet. We saw all the data, the coronavirus increasing in Ohio, in Hamilton County. In my mind, I think we still need to take it seriously, especially Colerain residents. We need to protect our residents. And let's follow the government. The governor's order. What is it? Red level, purple?
Right now we're at red.
We are red level. Whatever the red level governor guidance is, let us follow.
I'm not willing to cede control of how we run our local meetings to the folks in Columbus. When the COVID thing is a very serious thing, this locally elected board should be determining when we have folks in our meetings. Just some of the things that happen to refresh people's memory, coming out of the gate in March, canceling an election hours before the election was due to start, telling and Governor DeWine is our elected leader, and I respect that. But then telling everybody I need 2 weeks for ventilators and masks and saying April 6th, and then closing down businesses that so many who have just suffered horrible economic damage, and then pushing it off till April 28th, and then telling us it would peak on May 25th, and then locally, the mayor of Cincinnati and one of the county commissioners down at the convention center setting up 800 beds that never came to pass. We are a daily victim of bad data. And then some of the data that we don't get, there are 11,692,000 people in Ohio that are still alive and don't have COVID and didn't get it. Most of what the governor's done, and there's been lawsuits challenging it, there's a real lack of constitutional authority to do a lot of the things they've done. My concern with this is he might forget to change it back. I don't want to tie ourselves to the state determining how we operate our meetings. And I could go on and on just about the continual bad information. I have a mask, I wear it in here, I take it off so we can broadcast these meetings. But I'm not a doctor, but maybe they should have started with that instead of shutting down every commercial enterprise in the state of Ohio. I'm afraid that Columbus is not tuned into the business aspects of the devastation that's just been done economically to people. So I do not intend to support changing this at all.
You finished?
So far, I'm under control. I got a seatbelt on. I'm in good shape. It is just daily. It's like a ping pong ball, but like a ball bouncing around in an old pinball machine. I don't think they know any more than any of the rest of us.
I think it's random, completely random. And my point would be it's random as anything else, so why not just make it systematic with this list? I don't even know what to think, man. I got people telling me that, we're getting ready to go back to school in August, and I'm like, I've got 36, 40 kids in a class. What's going to happen there? We're not going to distance 6 feet, but yet the bars are closing down. I'm like, wait a second. It's safe to be in the school, but not safe to be in the bar. There's so many inconsistencies. Or what was the thing they said about today? They opened the daycares, pretty much, right, where they had the 2-tier thing, but they said the fairs are unsafe. That's just, to me, is a little bit bizarre, the inconsistencies there. I don't even know what I don't know. I don't think they know what they don't know. I don't think anybody has any good data for it. The only thing that I've been looking at with some consistency is Dr. Gottlieb, who I don't know if anybody's familiar, is usually on the Financial Network in the morning, and he said to look at the positive test percentage rates. And if you're under 5%, you're all right. If you're 5 to 10%, well, you got some decisions. If you're over 10%, you're in big trouble. And I think Ohio's at like 5.7. Kentucky is at like 8 and some change. And that's really the only number I know to go by. But I think I would support this just because it's as good as anything else. We need to have it. We need to be able to say we're following some kind of policy. And if we find that the governor forgets or we don't like it, we'll just say, Mr. Mills, put it back on because we're going to switch it. It would be my feeling.
One of the other numbers that we never seem to get straight is how many people are in the hospitals and in critical care or intensive care. Keep in mind that, for instance, in Hamilton County, we have the hospitals here. So Brown County, Claremont, Boone, Kent, and Campbell, Dearborn, a lot of those folks that get sick, they come here. So if you start counting how many COVID patients we have in our hospitals, keep in mind that a lot of them aren't Hamilton County residents, and some of them might be from Kentucky, which is, utilizes our hospitals regularly, because Covington and Newport, they have St. E's and a few other places, but they don't have the assets that we have at University and Good Sam and the other hospitals. And so that's just a little bit more bad data. I'm just not, my comment on it is I am not willing to cede control of how we run our meetings to the state. I think it's important that people have a chance to come in here and speak. I like everybody who comes in. I mean, we've had some pretty major issues on here tonight, and I think people deserve a chance to come in and speak, and I want to bring that back as soon as possible, and I don't want to wait on the governor to tell us when we can do it. So those are all my comments. Is there any other discussion?
My main concern is...
Raj, Mike.
My main concern is Colerain Township residents, make sure we control the spread of coronavirus in our township, and keeping our primary duty is keeping our residents safe and healthy. Whatever it takes to achieve the goal, that we should do it.
And with that, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
No.
Mr. Waller?
Philosophically, this is a hard vote because I agree with Mr. Unger, but I'm going to vote aye, just out of an abundance of caution and with the idea that I can call you one day and have it put back on the agenda.
You bet. Okay, very good. The next item is an old business item. It's a discussion of the 2021 strategic plan. I think Mr. Weckbach broached this subject at the last meeting. We will be we'll be launching into our development of the strategic plan for 2021 in the coming weeks. It's going to be really important to get the feedback of the Board of Trustees and residents, though it may be difficult to get resident feedback in the traditional ways of having a town hall meeting. We'll have to be creative with that. But one of the things that we really want the Board of Trustees to do this year is to adopt, as we did last year, but maybe this year it's a little bit more robust, a policy statement or policy priority statement for 2021. That way we're able to capture exactly what it is that you think are the biggest things that we need to work on next year. And then we can take that and plug in the we can plug in initiatives to accomplish those goals for you into the strategic plan. So this is just a placeholder on the agenda to discuss things that you want to talk about as it relates to next year's strategic plan.
So when are you looking to? I would imagine it would be you and Jeff meeting with each one of us individually, and for us to lay out what our goals are.
That's fine. We can do it however you'd like to do it. So August 6th and 7th, the department heads or directors are going to be getting together to talk through operationally which items they want to do in their departments to move the ball down the field. And so, the earlier the better that we get that feedback. If you want us to meet with you individually, that's great. If you want to have the discussion here, that's great. Whatever you want to do.
Can we, well, I guess not more than one of us can, sit in on those meetings with you and your department heads?
Yeah,
or,
absolutely.
but it would have to be one or less.
One at a time. And in the past, we've invited trustees one at a time. We've had, first half of the day one, somebody would take, second half of day one, somebody would take, third, first half of day two, somebody would take. That's kind of how it's been done in the past.
As you get those scheduled, if you let us know,
Sure.
then, yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, Matt, you done?
Yeah, yes, thank you, sorry.
So we need to, before we go in 2021, we need to be able to quantify what we have done in 2020 or 2019. Everything is evidence-based program, okay? Evidence-based, we learned that. Evidence-based program. So what, we created the program in 2020, or it started like a 2019. We will move forward to 2020. Now, what we accomplished in 2020, what our vision was, and what we achieved, and what is left over, we didn't accomplish, and we're going to carry it on to the 2021. So when we're able to present this program to our residents, we can able to identify things we accomplished, things we can accomplish because lack of fun, lack of things, something. It's learning. It's a remarkable thing because in the history of Colerain Township, you never done that before. They never had a strategic planning. It's like a runaway train, But now we are having strategic plan. We are quantifying it. Every program we create is an evidence-based program. We can measure it, what we accomplished. I think that's very critical before we develop the 2021, so we can carry on what's left behind in 21. So what we're doing for like in the communities, like Northbrook and Groesbeck, these are the areas. Have we made any significant difference after create the strategic planning, and what we're going to do next step for this support those communities, neighborhoods?
That's a great idea. Would you like, on the August 11th agenda, would you like me to give a presentation on especially 19 and 20, our strategic plans, what the initiatives were, how, which we were able to complete and which ones were left undone?
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And then you'll have the next items.
Okay, then the next items are the consent agenda items. There are 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. The first one is a contract that was signed by Jeff Weckbach in my absence when I was on vacation, and that would be committing the township to install LED lighting upgrades at the impound lot. Recall that contracts on the consent agenda are those that you've already granted delegated authority to sign because they're less than $10,000 in value. So, we were able to sign that and get that moving. And then the other item on the agenda on the consent agenda is the hiring of the recommended hiring of Ms. Monday, Tamaria Monday, to the position of code enforcement specialist. That role was posted, applications were received, and interviews were conducted. We made a conditional offer of employment to Mrs. Tamaria Monday, contingent, of course, upon your authorization here tonight. The wage for the job is $12 an hour for approximately 20 hours per week throughout the season. And contingent upon your approval this evening, she will be able to begin work tomorrow, July 29th, 2020. This is a part-time role. It's a permanent part-time role that is FLSA non-exempt, and it is not a union position. What more can I say? We had 13 applicants and interviewed 3 candidates.
I will motion to accept the consent agenda as provided.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
None.
Upon approval, if this carries, seeing that we're near the end of the agenda, that property over on Pippin Road that has the 4-foot-tall weeds in the front yard that's squared off, and I've been told it's a pollinator garden.
Yeah.
You can send her right over there tomorrow morning and have her tell us what it is, because I don't know our zoning code that you could have something like that. That's a great question, because behind the so-called pollinator garden, from there to the front door of the house, the yard is very neatly trimmed, but one of the neighbors down the street has been calling me about it, and then you can send her right up the street to the corner and look at all those cars sitting there. So
Right.
there's plenty of work for her to do. Was there any other discussion?
None.
None.
And you think she'll accept the position?
I do. I'm confident.
Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajgopal,
Aye.
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
And our next item is a fiscal office report.
Thank you, Board. I'll be brief because it looks like we're on the verge of breaking a record here for that time.
I don't know, the projector times out after 2 hours, so
Just a very brief update on the number of public records requests. We have reached 280 so far this year. We have fulfilled 218. 131 of those have been since I started on April 1st. So again, we are doing, I think, an excellent job of filling those. We're trying to get, again, to the older ones that have taken a little more time to get the information tabulated. But we're doing a good job there. And just another update, there's some kind of pushback on some of the answers that citizens are getting with regard to public records, specifically with records that they're asking for that would need to be generated by the office to produce that. I have spoken with the law director, with representatives from the state auditor's office, and the direction that the fiscal office has been given is that the fiscal office is not required to generate records to fulfill public records requests. What we do is we are obligated to produce public records that we use on a daily basis in the course of a business day. And that's what we do. And so some of the replies that we're getting are maybe not the way that it used to be. That isn't necessarily my concern. My concern is the way that it is now. And having been given that direction by both our law director and the state auditor, we will produce public records that we use and that we
That
do not
exist.
and that exist and that we do not have to generate. So I just wanted to make that clear. And with that, that's all I have.
Jeff, could I bring up a topic or ask a question? I know we spoke the other day. Last year, we have a person that worked our front desk and was there to answer the phones, and we started getting complaints that I call and it goes to voicemail, and the board last year talked to Mr. Mills and said that our phones need to be answered, and you came back and we brought in a new individual just to have a person at the desk so that people that call in are getting quick service with a human. The person who was at the front desk, we have sort of dedicated her to help out in the office, and because of the volume of public record requests we get, which is fine, people can request records, but there is quite a cost that goes with that, and that person, when you add in their wage and their health benefits, it costs the township a significant amount of money. We're spending a significant amount of money answering these requests, and we talked about figuring out a way to better utilize that person, and I think you've taken great steps into that, and you've been here 3 months, and everything was fine before you got here. The township wasn't shut down, the state was running just fine, and Bayer comes in the door and everything blows up. But in all seriousness, you're doing a great job, but the board of trustees did provide your office with some extra help, and at an expense, and it costs money to have people look this stuff up. It's our charge to do such things, and we will. But so the public knows, we spend quite a bit of money filling those requests. It's another salary with benefits, and it's expensive, and it's money we do need to spend it filling requests, but there's a lot of other things we could do with that money if the level of request was different. So thank you for the hard work you're doing. I know you're slogging it through there trying to get them all, but you get one done and 4 more come in. So
Well, to echo on that, again, keep in mind that 280 doesn't tell the whole story. That's 280 HR numbers, which are official requests. But what that doesn't tell you is how many different records are within that one request. And very rarely do we get, I shouldn't say very rarely, I would say only about a third of the time do we get a request that is just one record. So that 280, realistically, I would say is anywhere from 500 to 600 requests that we've received. And keep in mind, Green Township is around 10. For the same
and that's fine. And Jeff, please communicate with Jeff Mills, and the board of trustees provided that extra position, and coordinate with Jeff Mills and figure out what's the best way to utilize that person and keep these going, because besides the 3 or 4 folks that make most of the requests, there are people that occasionally, want to see our, April electric bill or something, and it's just one thing, and it's a simple request, and I don't want that person to have to wait behind the 20 or 30 you're getting every week, although I guess they would have to, but, please coordinate with Jeff Mills to get whatever help out of the office you need. That's why the Board of Trustees put another person in there, is just to help get caught up, and at an expense. So, thank you for your report.
Thank you, Jeff. It's within a short time, you don't have time to learn your job. Not learn, and also, take control. But now you're spending more time on this request. It's I don't know, but you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, the next agenda item is adjournment.
Yes,
Would somebody like the motion for that?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Baker, please call for a vote.
Mr. Rajgopal,
Aye.
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
This meeting of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees is adjourned at exactly 9:00 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. Thank you to everyone who's watching, and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.